Rose versus Carla Esparza. Guys, this is the most under-discussed title fight of 2022. I don't know why. Is it because it's a co-main event and Oliveira and Gaethje have stolen all the thunder? Most likely, but I want to make sure that you guys understand the timeline here. So many people are so captivated by Rose. I don't know if there is a more loved fighter. Loved fighter, you're talking about a stranger, you're talking about somebody that you don't know, right? If you're the fan, it's very hard to actually love. You might use that word, but it's difficult. Rose is loved. People that don't even know her are brought to tears. They are inspired. She is a special human, right? And I will submit something for you that I don't think you'll have heard anywhere else, which is I do not buy into the idea that Rose is a better fighter today than she was 5 years ago. I don't. I've watched those tapes. She looks like the same fighter to me, as a matter of fact. It's a different mentality. Rose's ability to deal with pressure, to deal with trying moments, to adjust while under stress and under attack. She is as good of a competitor as the sport has ever had, but she's a much better version of herself. And I'm picking a random time, but I'm calling it 5 years ago. That's relevant. One thing that a lot of our new fans don't understand, as Rose leads into this fight with Carla, this is a rematch. Not only is it a rematch, the challenger, Carla Esparza, won the first one. It's extremely important that you know that, because Rose can pick whoever she wants. Now, that's a very broad stroke statement. You're going to have a few names offered. Carla's the number one contender. Carla has earned that, but Rose could have sidestepped her if she wanted to. She did not want to. Rose wants this fight. Rose wants Carla across from her. Rose wants to fix the past. And with the adjustments that Rose has made, she very well could do it. But you got to also understand Carla's position. Carla's position as the best in the world, as the one that beat Rose, is sitting back and going, look at all the acclaim that you're getting. Look at all the fans and the sponsorship and the attention that you're getting. Look at the placements, and you're in Madison Square Garden. Look at all the stuff you're getting. I've beaten you. So it's a real motivation for both ladies. The good news, if you're Team Carla, I don't think that you're dealing with a different fighter. I don't think you're dealing with a better fighter. I don't think that you're dealing with different tools than you did the last time. I really do maintain that. I don't see anything within Rose's skills, offensively or defensively, that are different than the night that she lost to Carla. But there's something different mentally. That's for damn sure. You know, there was a time, I'm out here in Portland, and I get a call from Pat Barry. And Pat says, hey, Rose and I are in town. We want to come into the studio. We want to do your podcast. All right, great. So I give them the address. I drive in, get to downtown Portland. I meet them, and they shared with me on the podcast. I'm not speaking out of school here, but this was years ago. I'll recap what they said. Pat had said that they were in Portland. They had rented a van. It was like a Volkswagen van. And they drove out into the middle of nowhere. And I'm talking about the forest, and we got lots of forest out here. They were away from cell phones, away from technology, away from television sets, away from people, away from noise. And they did 2 weeks. They caught their own food. They lived outside. If they wanted to be warm, they built a fire, this whole thing. But it wasn't for a camping trip. It wasn't a level of a vacation. They had a very specific goal. It was a walkabout. It was a journey for them to look inside and internalize and attempt to change their mindset, which when you have two athletic competitors, I drew the conclusion that it had to do about sports. However, I will just tell you, when Carla and Pat came out of that walkabout, they were different. I always knew, just to personalize this, that Rose was a very good fighter. I did not know Rose was amongst the best to have ever done it. And if you look at her resume, and you look at the championship, you look that it was lost, you look that she reclaimed championships, you look at the weight classes, you look at the opponents she did it against, it's very hard to say anything other than Rose is the greatest ever. Very difficult. You could do it. You could find some other very meaningful ladies. You will not discuss the greatest ever and not put Rose in the top 3 and still maintain any level of credibility amongst the community members that you're discussing with, right? It's one of those spots. I didn't know that about Rose. I remember when Rose went out and knocked out Joanna, I thought Rose caught Joanna. So they did an instant rematch. Rose doesn't catch her this time, beats her again. I remember the nights that Rose caught Wei Li. I believed Rose caught Wei Li. So they went and did a rematch. Rose went out and beat her again, all 25 minutes. It's a really interesting ability to compete. And it's a really interesting person who can be on top of the world but stay motivated. And Rose right now is trying to fix her past. That's a rare spot. Rare that anybody's ever given the opportunity, but rare that somebody can be so damn good that they're even put in the spot where they can go back in time and fix things that they wish they'd have done for the first time. So the motivation by both Rose and Carla is powerful. It's opposite. It's the complete opposite motivation, but it's equally as powerful. And how you approach a fight and what you feel going into it plays a huge part in the outcome of that contest. Thug Rose versus Carla Esparza is the most under-discussed title fight of 2022. But now you know the timeline and now you know the history. And it's not just about the punches and the kicks and the positioning. Carla would love to get on top and keep her there. Carla was pretty green back then. Even though Carla won the Ultimate Fighter, even though Carla was the champion of the world, her skills then were not as good as the skills of Carla, who's non-champion, who's not the main event. Number one contender Carla is a more dangerous Carla than champion Carla. So when you have a rematch, you always have to ask yourself the exact same question, which is, what's going to be different this time? So I'm asking you, and I would love to hear from you, what's your prediction and why?